started. So it's been a good camp. It always is up here, and the people of St. John Fisher, the Bill staff, as I mentioned at the outset of camp, have done a phenomenal job again of hosting us. The neighboring towns, Pittsford included, welcoming in so many ways to our team and our staff. And let's not forget the medical people who show up here every day to serve not only the team but the fans, security people, police officers. I mean, it's just amazing, right? The day-to-day security that's here, staff-wise, to help us get across the street, in our dorms, just phenomenal support here. So can't thank everyone enough. And then there's a lot of people behind the scenes, you know, that sometimes the toilets tend to get a little backed up in training camp at different times, and so there's people that service those as well, and we so appreciate them also here. So I'll give you an injury update. Not much really has changed, a couple additions if anything. So safety Mike Edwards, Cole Bishop, Nick Morrow, Chase Claypool, Ty Johnson, Travis Clayton, Eddie, Daquan Jones. We added Casey Toohill. Casey tweaked his groin yesterday. Justin Shorter still with the knee, and then this morning Matt Collins with a leg that is a little sore this morning, and then KJ Hamler is currently being evaluated. Not sure if he's going to go or not. All of those will not practice today, and then the majority of those will not play in the game. We'll see on Mac and his situation, the same with KJ as it relates to the game. As far as the game goes, we're looking forward to playing. We kind of get to this point in training camp where, as you see, some of the skirmishes start to break out. Guys are getting a little ornery, and it's time to go against another opponent here. So we look forward to finishing today's camp and today's practice the right way, but also getting in front of our fans at home come this Saturday at 1 o'clock. So playtime wise, I know that's what you're looking for. The ones will play. They'll play roughly a quarter, give or take. It's really, to me, it's getting them ramped up and ready to go for the season. It's an important step. Hard to simulate the speed of the game, and so getting that in preseason is important. Going through warm-ups and the energy that comes with playing a game in front of fans, and being able to manage that. So there's a lot of reasons for it. Like I said, it's just another step. So with that, I'll turn it over to you with your questions.
Last year, he didn't play the first. He played in the second, maybe even the third. So do you think maybe just this week get it done and not use him in the last two?
We'll just take it 1 week at a time, Sal. So, there's a number of new faces on our offense also, including his receiving core, and so some of that is baked into this. But the biggest thing is individually we've got to get ourselves ready to go and go from there. So.
Joe Brady was pretty complimentary about Josh's game. How would you just evaluate him?
Yeah, I would agree. Very focused. When you look at his throws and accuracy and whatnot, he's been very accurate and sharp. There's some plays that are newer, and some time on task with the receiving core, as I mentioned, that are newer. That is a new group this year. I would say that they're still working through some things, and that'll continue.
How much can you sense that the team building element of being away from camp has really translated onto the field with so many new people here as we've gone on these 2.5+ weeks?
I think it's grown, John, and definitely coming to camp has helped facilitate it as opposed to staying at home. But I would say that needs to continue because so many new faces, as you mentioned. So it's not something that needs to end now. It needs to really continue and on into the early parts of the season.
Sean, when we talked to you day one of training camp, you mentioned how Matt Milano was going to have his load managed throughout camp, and just kind of wondering, he was out there almost every day. Just where do you see him at now? Is that kind of what you were expecting, or how do you think he got through camp?
Well, camp still continues. It's just different locations. So let me just say that. With respect to Matt, it reminds me of, you're around injuries where it takes a year really get themselves back. I'm not saying it's going to take him a year, but I do think it's him getting reacclimated to moving at full speed, playing at full speed, and then trusting that he's back, right? So there's just more than a physical component that goes into it, and he's working through that, and I think every day he's gotten a little bit better. I think yesterday he had James Cook in the flat, and James is a tough matchup in space, and Matt did a good job there.
To keep checking in with you on the defensive play calling thing during camp, I want to check.
Yeah.
Are you taking that into the preseason, that decision, or do you feel like a decision has been made?
Yeah, so Bobby will call the plays this weekend, and then we'll take it from there.
Tell us a little bit about just what you've seen in DeMar Hamlin and whether you feel he's ready for an opportunity to make his way to a prominent role in safety.
Yeah, I mean he's again, I've said this before, a unique situation that very few can even relate to in terms of his situation coming off that event that he had, and so last year, again, just kind of getting through last year and getting his confidence back maybe a little bit, and which is again to be expected, and then now this year I would say a deeper focus and a deeper intentionality of a daily process, right? With playing the position, with communicating, and all that goes into playing the safety position.
So if you look at the summer that Kyrie Elam has had, the camp that he's had, going in, how has that met your expectations after what you saw in the spring and what he's been able to kind of establish with his play this summer?
Well, we needed to make sure that position, whether it's the first corner, second corner, third corner, fourth corner, those are all important positions because of how important that position is overall as a cornerback position to us. So Kyer right now is in that third position, and I think he's done a real nice job. Probably the biggest thing is he's been consistent, and listen, no one's perfect. We're all going to have things we want to work on. I know he does, but I really appreciate how consistent he's been really from the first day of training camp.
Sean, is it accurate to say that when the team split up offense and defense, you spent a little more time in training camp on the offensive field and let the defense kind of hear Bobby's voice a little bit more?
Yes. Looking, and really what I was doing was spending a little bit more time with watching the receiving core and seeing how it was taking shape, and watching Josh, of course, and then giving Bobby some space, right? He doesn't need me looking over his shoulder all the time, and he needs to know that I trust him as well, and so some of that space comes from that.
What do you see from KJ Hamler, both as a return man and a receiver?
Yeah, speed, that's the obvious thing that stands out the most rather early, and then just make sure you're all right. Making sure you're all right. Thought you were having one of these donuts back here. No, I think KJ's had a good camp. Obviously new to our team. Like I said, the speed element is real, and whether he's playing offense or the return game. So I'll be excited to see him. Hopefully he's healthy enough to play in the game this weekend.
You said you spent a lot of time watching the receivers. Has anything surprised you, getting a closer look?
No, not really. I mean, I think more than anything, I like where the kind of the unselfishness is in terms of that position. In terms of just every day. I think if you charted it, there's somebody different catching the ball. I'm talking about all through ones, twos, and threes. And I think Joe and Adam and RC have done a really good job. I'm talking about Adam Henry, our receivers coach, of making sure the ball gets spread around, and the quarterbacks, not just Josh, but also Shane and Mitch.
You talked about the utensil drawer earlier, not really knowing what you had with the silverware. Do you have more of an idea of what now is in that silverware drawer after 2 weeks?
Where's Joe? Was Joe the one that asked the spork? Yeah, still trying to figure out who the spork is. TBD on that one. But other than that, I've got a little bit. Max said it was Keon. Yeah.
Dangerous yet.
I don't think I can match that one. No, they've all worked hard, and I appreciate their effort, blocking in the run game. I mean, those are some things that get overlooked at the receiver position, and like we take pride in our corners tackling and our receivers blocking.
And Terrell Bernard, year 1 to 2. Have you seen that in Dorian Williams in terms of being more acclimated to what's going on and then reacting quicker like we saw last year?
Yeah, I think you see that similar growth for sure. There's a lot of growth that takes place at any position from year 1 to year 2. The first year is there's just so much thrown at these players off the field, on the field. I mean, they go through things that people don't even know they go through, real life things, right? And you think that they don't, but they do. And so now in his second year, it's been fun to watch Dorian get a little bit more comfortable in the defensive system, more work to do there. And so we'll see, again, anxious to watch him like the others play this weekend.
Time Chase Claypool was missed.
Yeah.
How far has he fallen behind in this whole competition?
Yeah, I mean that's some of the new players that we added. It's a shame because they've missed a considerable amount of time. Chase being one of them. We mentioned Cole, Mike, and so forth. So it's just it's hard to evaluate when the player isn't out there, whether it's Chase or anybody. And I know he's fighting like crazy to get back, and we're anxious to have him back.
Sean, there's a little more of a lean in the league to go into a designated pass rusher, having that as part of the rush arsenal. Is there room for that in your defense as much as you rotate already, and could that be a role for Vaughn this year?
Designated pass rusher? Could be, although I wouldn't sell Vaughn short. I mean, he's done some things on early downs in camp so far that I think have flashed, and we'll see where it goes and how it trends. We certainly need to manage him and just his overall rep count in camp, and but I think he continues to trend up and up, and but some of the things he's done on early downs have been impressive also.
What do you take on just the role in general? Is that something that can work in your defense?
It is. Yeah, it affects other positions then, because take Vaughn out of the equation, but when you have a niche player, how many niche players can actually be on your roster and then not playing special teams, so it's all connected, right? And one piece affects another piece.
John, what have you observed in Vaughn during training camp that maybe you didn't see as much of during his return season last fall?
Well, I think early on it's been different because he's been able to be in training camp. If I remember correctly, he wasn't even in training camp last year, able to participate. So that's definitely a big step in the right direction. And with that comes his influence, just the standard that he approaches every day with, physically, mentally, some of his leadership piece with that comes with it as well, and so I think we're definitely ahead of where we were last year, and we'll know a lot more as we get into these weekly preseason games, and as we get trend closer to the start of the season.
Sean, is there anyone, whether it's a rookie, veteran, that's been a pleasant surprise through this point of camp or made a bigger jump than you kind of were expecting?
Veteran-wise, you talking the veterans that have been?
Anyone on the team that's just made a bigger jump than you maybe were anticipating at this point in training camp?
Well, I've really enjoyed the overall competition. I know that's a cop-out answer for you, but the overall, I mean, you guys are out there watching practice. One day the defense, quote-unquote, has a better day. The other, wins the day, and the next day the offense wins the day. And, I really like what I've seen from T. Bass as he's been out there on a special team scale. I think he's in a good rhythm. And getting back in a game and kicking, taking, opportunities that we can in preseason for both Sam and T. Bass will be important for us. So, I mean, you may see on some fourth downs, I decided not to go for it where I normally would, just to continue to get those guys valuable reps and time on task. And so I've been overall very pleased with the day-to-day effort, and I'm not really worried about one side of the ball versus the other in terms of it hasn't gotten out, kind of off balance there in terms of who's winning, who's not. I mean, there's good competition, and I think Shaver's overall now he's just, I mentioned before, he's so darn consistent in his daily approach, and I just really appreciate he's out there playing special teams. I mean, he had one of the better reps in special teams for us the other day, so he's doing a nice job, and we'll see where it goes.
I know you like to keep things in perspective with rookies, but Dwayne Carter from our side has looked like he's had a tremendous training camp. Has that been your evaluation? Is he somebody that maybe fits into that pool of taking a huge step?
I feel like the light has started to come on with him. There was a series of practices early where, probably wasn't what we needed it to be, and somewhere around the scrimmage last week, give or take, maybe a day before the scrimmage, and then the scrimmage, I call it the scrimmage, the red and blue scrimmage there. I thought he really flashed from that's more of what we need. And listen, he's going to play a pivotal role in that third, fourth, defensive tackle spot for us, ideally, and so with that comes a lot of development that still needs to happen. But been impressed with some of his flashes of late.
As you watch Dorrance Smoot move in and out, are you surprised at how versatile you've been able to kind of use him this training camp?
Yeah, not surprised. I mean, he's a guy that we targeted in the free agent period there, Josh. He's a dog, man. I mean, you watch him, and this is another player that, a year ago he was coming off of the Achilles, and I think probably people didn't maybe, they look at the film and they're like, no. But when you're coming off a major injury like that, like some of the other players that have already been mentioned, that's almost like, to me, a mulligan year, if you will, of just they're not really who they are capable of being, and I think he's on a mission now to prove a lot of those people that thought that wrong. And we're happy to have him and his family here, and he's been a great addition to our defense. Good.
Thanks, Sean.